Public speaking means you must be able to see eye to eye. And if I have to sit solo and look like that, I mean, you are going to overwhelm me. No, seriously, I prefer to stand because my stomach cannot take sitting up too long.
Thank you very much, Tan Sri, for a very inspiring lecture. I think we've heard from Tan Sri Rafida the importance of nurturing, the importance of having a good system of education. Incidentally, it's not just the world out there who will benefit or not benefit from a good education system, but we in the universities are also the recipients of students from schools. Before we take questions, I think Tan Sri would love to take questions from the floor. Could I ask that anyone who wants to pose a question, please just identify yourself and say very clearly, and please don't have a very long-winded question. So straight to the point, so that Tan Sri can then reply.
A very good morning to Yang Berbahagia, Tan Sri Rafida Aziz, and other distinguished guests. Before moving on with my questions, please let me introduce myself. I'm Rakesh Veera from Sekolah Sri Akmal Secondary. Now let's move on to the questions. All of here in this hall would agree that we teens are often referred to as bakal pemimpin negara or the future leaders. Thus, so we are expected to improve our nation into a better country from every aspect. But with all the current turmoil going on both in economic and education sectors, one of the obvious examples is the drastic changes in the education system. Since I am a product of that, I think I'm eligible to ask this. We teenagers are somewhat being used as the guinea pigs to experiment all the new systems and syllabus before reconfirming them. We teens are torn between it. So my question to the Honorable Speaker here, Tan Sri Rafida Aziz, is how do we react to this? What do we do? How do we deal with it? Since so much pressure on we teens that we are confused on which path that we should take. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh
Salam.
and a very good morning. Thank you for the amazing lecture. So I continue with my question. I'm interested to know how did your personal education background shape your personality and traits today?
Assalamualaikum and good morning. Firstly, thank you for giving me the chance to ask these questions. Well, I'm going to ask a very, very short and simple question, which is...
Could you identify yourself, please? Sorry.
Sorry, my name is Nik Misha binti Nik Mazlan, and I am from Pusat Asasi Sains, University Malaya. And I want to ask, what do you think about the change of PPSMI to MMBI, where teachers are now teaching science and mathematics in Bahasa Melayu? So how can this change actually help the students nowadays?
Good morning to everybody in the hall. I am Nadia from the Faculty of Education. My question would be that why do you think the Malaysian society as a whole, like you said, that lady who approached you at the hospital, she was just a teacher. Why do you think they do not value educators as much as they value for, say, engineers or doctors? Because frankly, it's quite demoralizing for us going through teacher training because we think we may not be as impactful towards the society as a whole, even though we are told otherwise. Thank you.
My name is Muhammad Salah Hassan. I'm as a master student from INPUMA, Public Policy. Since I'm a student of public policy, what interests us actually is the issues in policies, the issues with programs. My question is, what do you think is the issue with the educational policy in Malaysia now? And what are the most important issues that should be addressed now in order for us, for Malaysia, to move toward a developed nation?
Kashin from Education Faculty. I would really like to ask, this is quite a personal question where actually is more related to my career. I just wanted to ask, how do you have that huge, the guts to change your career from a lecturer to a politician, you know?
Good morning, Tan Sri and distinguished guests. I am Yumi from Cadet PTD, and on the role of education today, I have a question. The internet has become somehow of an unofficial educator for youths. I believe that which is on the pendulum of both good and bad, because knowledge and information is so easily accessed, but at the same time it is unfiltered. So what do you think that, I think education on appropriate internet usage and also social media etiquette seems important, but at the same time no one has given any emphasis on it. So what do you think?
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Good afternoon, Tan Sri Rafida and distinguished guests of honor.
Tak apalah, straight away lah.
Okay, my name is Kang. I'm from Cadet Novas PTD. This question is a bit personal. I have two points to ask Tan Sri. Okay, now Tan Sri, you mentioned that you have a...
Wait, I'm looking at him. Oh my God, you are dead. I look at him and he was looking at him. No, I don't look at the screen. I want to look at a real person. And I saw his mouth not moving. Okay, sorry. Sorry to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I have 2 points to raise. The first thing, Tan Sri, you mentioned that you have something of a temper, and the
Who
question.
doesn't?
Okay, how do you manage your temper in an environment that's what I've heard in Miti, it's quite hectic. So how do you manage your temper in a hectic environment? And my second question is, Tan Sri, you mentioned that you had an unfinished business before you switched into politics. So during that time between your...
Unfinished PhD.
Yes, unfinished PhD, my apologies. So during that time, during that unfinished PhD, and when UM conferred the honorary PhD, how do you deal with... Okay, basically what I'm trying to ask is, how do you deal with disappointments in your life? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now you can speak.
Okay. Good afternoon, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri and Prof. Awang. I'm Zugindran, ex-student of University of Malaya. I have one question. Okay, Tan Sri has mentioned that education shouldn't be politicalized and politicalized. Sorry.
Right.
And what is your stand on equal opportunity in education, locally and also internationally?
Okay, 2 last questions. After that, I think we have to
Ladies
stop
first,
here.
ladies
yes,
first.
ladies first. Yes, madam. Yeah.
A very good morning to Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Rafida Aziz and all the audience here. I'm actually Lee Mei Yan from Faculty of Education. So actually, I just want to share a topic and asking for the opinions. Like, since I'm from Faculty of Education, so there's a high possibility that I will become an educator in future. So how should I treat my children if, for example, if I become a teacher in secondary school, and when my children grow up and it happened to be my own student, so I mean, how should I treat my own children that is also my students? Should be the same as the other students?
Of course. Of course.
Thank you.
Teach
Thank
them
you.
as a student, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there's a last question. Yeah. Okay.
Good morning,
morning.
honorable guest, ladies and
No
gentlemen.
more honorable. Habis already.
I'm Alexander from China. I'm from Faculty of Language Linguistics. Today's topic is the role of education in the nation building. I just heard something from very famous experts in the international conference. He mentioned that the ultimate goal of education is just to make every student to educate themselves. That means that every student must have the motivation to learn. They are not forced to study. They have the interest to study. So my question is that in the next 20 years or even 50 years, how can all the educationists, all the educational policymakers do to make self-education become reality? Thank you.
Well, I do believe that in a world where you need to intermingle and communicate with the rest of the human beings, self-education throughout your life will end up like a caveman. You may not know what's happening around you. You're just busy educating yourself. That's why we have a school system, where you group together people to learn, nurturing. Remember, I told you nurturing. Not just to learn, but be nurtured in socialization, respecting diversities and so on. That does not mean that you cannot on your own add on to knowledge. That's what we all are doing, on an everyday basis, even me. I'm chairman of this company and that company. I got to learn, man. I'm chairman of a steel company, I'm chairman of an airline company, I'm chairman of Pinewood Studios, and Michelle Yeoh is a board member, the actress, and I'm chairman of a glove corporation, glove. I have to switch my mind. I don't know anything about all these things before, let alone flying. So I have to learn. At 70 plus, I have to learn about the aviation industry, about the glove making industry, about film studios. So self-learning, nobody's going to teach me. My CEO is also learning. So I agree, self-education, it is not the sole idea, but it is to complement what you already get through the formal system. I don't think the future schools will go out of fashion. If anything, that will change in terms of schools become a nurturing structure, not just education per se. Because education, like you rightly said, can be achieved. The nurturing, that's why I always emphasize the nurturing. It is the nurturing that's important now. You can learn anything on your own, right?
Right.
The nurturing is you cannot learn by yourself. It's got to be taught by group interaction, by your family interaction. Yeah?
Yeah,
Anyone
thank you.
who plants in the minds of young people that you are the bakal pemimpin negara must be out of their minds. There can only be one PM, one GPM, and how many cabinet ministers? The highest number was 36, as I recall. So make it 40 lah, yeah. After the 30 million, there will be only 40 who be bakal pemimpin negara lah. Don't aspire to be. These fellows speak just like that, without thinking. Planting minds of young people like you, I shall be pemimpin negara. I'll be so happy if you can pimpin yourself first. And then when you get married, you pimpin your wife and your family and your children, right? And then when you work, you pimpin your teammates. That will be your best service to the country. As I've told you, be the best in your own circles of influence. Remember? That's your biggest contribution. Please, banish the thought. Be the best that you are. Oh, my personal background.
Yeah.
My personal background is a bit strange in the sense that my father was one of the first Malays, together with Tan Sri Haji Basir, the late, to be the first graduates of the Serdang Agriculture College. Now UPM lah.
Yeah, UPM,
Okay.
yes.
But my father had the worst temper flashes. He could not stand orang putih telling him what to do. He could not stand the colonials, belittling him, or the country for that matter. And the moment they got out of line, so to speak, because they were orang putih, he just gave them 24-hour notice and resigned. So which meant that my childhood until into my teen years were actually like a roller coaster. When he got a job, it was one of the best jobs because he was qualified. Of course, if you resign 24 hours, end of story.
Yes.
And then you start all over again. So that taught me stability in life, so important. And to control your temper, because I am also his product. So that's it. Once in a while, I've done that. Take this bloody job. Sorry, my language. Took to the Prime Minister. I didn't ask for it. Take. This handkerchief. I have a lot of stories to tell. So, to understand that life is not always like that. It's got ups and downs, and you have to persevere. You have to make the best. When you are down, you're down. When you're poor, you're poor. It's not because there's nothing, because it takes a while for him to get another job. Right? And you have to suffer, you suffer. Silently, and you just support each other. If I had to go and sell nasi lemak and go to the cafeteria of the Gombak Home Guard, I do it every morning at 6, carry basket and send. Evening balik sekolah pukul 5:30, go and check how many nasi lemak sold. And count and take the money. Kalau tak habis, balik buat nasi goreng. I mean, you have to do that. And I was only a young girl. So in other words, hardship taught me that life doesn't come just like that on a silver plate. You have to work hard. And my father and my mother, especially my late father, placed a premium on education. He would do anything to make sure we are all educated in the sense that went to school. If you want books, he'll struggle to find books. But of course, I never bothered him. There's always a library. So I was a perpetual PR in the library. Because I can't afford to buy books. I can't be hounding him to buy books. So the library is my source of knowledge. I'll be spending time jotting down all the notes that I can. Of course, other friends can afford, they buy book, they don't have to go to the library. I went to the library every day. In the university, I was there every night. How would you think I get through my economics? So perseverance, hardship does make you learn lessons in life. And so, whether I have money, I don't have money, it didn't bother me. It doesn't bother me now. If I have money, I have a syukur pada Allah, Almighty God, blessings. If I don't have money, well, it doesn't matter because I've had worse before. As simple as it is. I never wrote my biography because I can't be bothered.
Right.
When you find that you're in school, mixing around with people who never knew hardship, so they were talking about, hey, did you learn this minuet? did you just practice minuet? I was wondering, what's minuet? Allegro. They were actually talking about piano lessons. I have never even touched a piano in my life, you know. And then Hari Raya, I had to make, it's only 190 ringgit. Your shoes are 250 each. I got 10 shoes, 10 colors. You know, my husband used to say, why? I tell him this story because in my heart, one day I'll tell myself I can afford the shoes. Of course not $1,000 shoes, 199 baht in Bangkok. No, to tell you, that's it. Hardship. You appreciate the hardship. You don't condemn the hardship. You don't say, what a life, you know, and blame your parents. No. You understand what it teaches you. So that at the end of the day, like I'm saying now, I don't care. I wear 199 baht blouses. Nobody knows. They don't believe it. How can it be? Yeah, this is 20 ringgit because the money depreciated kan? So what was 19 ringgit is now 20 ringgit. Yeah, 20 ringgit. I meet Malaysians in the shop in Platinum Mall. Murah ya Tan Sri. Itulah tu sebab saya beli 10 ni lah. So I bother. So in other words, your values no longer being tied to anything that's, you know, that's good only. You take both ends of the spectrum. That's what I mean. In summary, my life, what taught me.
Yes.
And be right. Speak what is right.
Right.
And no malice. Malice is like cancer. Malice is like poison. Malice is like you dengki ke orang. Don't ever. If he has more than you, she has more than you, that's her rezeki. Don't have malice. When you talk about something without malice, maknanya don't touch the person's heart. No malice. You can do to me. I don't care. You can assassinate me politically by spreading all kinds of vicious rumors. I condemn you under my breath. I curse you under my breath. You inside me. And I tell God Almighty, please, tolonglah balas. I am not in a position to do it. I don't know lah. This flip-flops is giving me a lot of grey hair. I think enough said.
Yes.
I mean, why do we make language put at ransom
Right.
to the disadvantage of the young people? I mean, it's unfair. To me, English should be learned so that whether you want to learn history, math, science, or whatever, English is the medium of learning, medium of gaining knowledge, because a lot of knowledge is in English. No time for translation. Anybody wants to translate, I think take two years to translate a book before it gets out of date. You baru dah start first print, dia dah out of date. Our people, young people must be taught English to enable them to communicate in anything in English, to glean information and knowledge from anything that's in English, and to also be able to express themselves in English. And if English is taught as a language, communications language, what is teaching and understanding maths or science or history or chemistry in English?
Right.
I hear that some teachers are teaching English macam ni. Murid-murid hari ini kita akan belajar past tense. Hari ini kita akan pergi kepada vocabulary. I mean, if you want to teach in English, you speak in English. Today, students, we shall talk about the subject past participle. Tak ada. The apa namanya, introduction is in Malay. Macam mana?
Yes. In pedagogy, actually, that's wrong. You can't teach language in another language.
Exactly.
Right. Yes.
You want to teach. I know I did French from Form 3 sampai lah my university
Yes.
as a degree. They don't care whether you faham or not because they make total immersion, you know. First day, they don't say good afternoon. Tak ada. Dia terus in English, nganga in French, nganga mulut. Form 3 kat confirm mungkin Anas. Bla 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 bla, dia French. Bla 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 bla. Of course, dia tahu kita tak faham lah. Then dia go back to explain.
Right.
But the idea is if you want to learn French, you cannot be taught French in English.
Right.
You know what I mean? Total immersion.
Okay.
We have to learn total immersion in English. Those are two words I want to for you to take back. Okay. I remember way back in the early 70s, I was in Sabak Bernam giving a talk to the people on cooperatives and economic of co-ops. And then at that time, new economic policy had just been announced. So this man stood up and said, Yang Berhormat, masih senator lah kan, Rafidah, saya ni gugu cabuk aja. Wow, my ears bristled. Saya gugu cabuk aja. Tapi saya inginlah nak menyambut seruan kerajaan. Nak memenuhi kota 30% Bumi Putera ni dalam perniagaan dan industri. How can, macam mana, cakap Melayu lah, macam mana saudara ni boleh anggap diri ni gugu cabuk? Saya ni adalah hasil daripada guru-guru yang first class. Guru-guru yang faham macam mana nak ngajar kami. Inilah sebabnya saya dan rakan-rakan saya boleh jadi macam ni. Boleh jadi pensyarah pula akhirnya. Kalau taklah kerana cikgu-cikgu guru yang dedikasi ni, saya rasa tak adalah ramai daripada kami di sini. Ni, government servant yang banyak ni semua ni. Jangan panggil diri guru cabuk seolah-olah jadi guru ni. Macam budak semalam lah, I told you. But ini dia kata, jangan jantan, lelaki. Malah kat lelaki, jantan. Guru cabuk dia kata. I said, mak bapak di Sabak Bernam ni letakkan amanah pada saudara. Mengajar anak-anak dia. Kalau lah mak bapak ni tahu yang saudara menganggap diri guru cabuk, mati dia tak hantar anak ke sekolah tu. On and on. And then I kata, ni nak sambut seruan kerajaan. Kita ni bukan sambut seruan kerajaan ni macam nak nangkap burung. Bunyi, burung datang, masuk kena getah tu. Saya punya ceramah tu. Dialog. I don't care whether they like it or not. I have to drum it into their heads. But first of all, I take objection to guru cabuk. Because I was a lecturer in the university.
And we are also guru actually.
Yes, exactly. Saya kata saya ni guru. Doakan Allah saya nak anggap diri saya guru cabuk. Amanah tu punya tinggi ni. Ni ramai ni yang saya ngajar ni. Kalau salah ajar, anak murid saya yang 1,000 lebih tu, tak ke mana halanya. Itu pun ajar betul-betul, ada juga yang hala ke lain. Yelah, macam susah nak ngajar kan. So don't ever think, that's what I kata. If you are able to say that you are a leader in your own circles of influence, you never have inferiority complex. Never. Ini, saya ni tak ada benda, suri rumah aja. My God, that's even better. Kalau mak tak dapat ngajar anak, macam mana cikgu nak ngajar? By the time sampai ke cikgu, anak dah plesit. You've already bred a devil. And then she gets to the school. And when I come to university, he's already a rogue. Betul tak? So, janganlah kata, alah, saya ni housewife je. What? That is the most noble. Dah lah awak punya husband sibuk. They never say, I'm only a husband. Ada pernah dengar tak, man? Alah, I'm only a husband. Ada? The women inferiority complex. Ayah, I'm only a housewife. Without you, your children will be tumbang ambing, you know. Be the best housewife lah. Be the best mother lah. So that your children come to school, the teachers, Alhamdulillah, I'm getting such good children. And not go home and cry, oh my God, why do I have some plesit in my school? Remember I told you about education? You bear in mind what's the environment that we're living in, global, regional, and domestic. Bear in mind that we're dealing with youth and what are their characteristics and expectations and demands. Then the education system and strategies must therefore be to suit this environment and to suit the cohorts that we're dealing with. No, seriously. I gave you that. Remember, I said nation building. What does it mean? And then youth, who are these people? What are their characteristics, right? Y and Z. And then so how does the education system and the strategies we adopt fit into these two? That's important. No guts involved. Seriously. Well, I was already in politics. Right? I joined politics at 22 plus. Okay?
Right.
By 30, as you said, I was already a senator. That was time of Tun Razak, you see. Before I was a senator, Tun Razak appointed me to his economics bureau, where he asked me actually to do something with the smallholders. And I, as a university lecturer with no resources, actually did on my own without a cent being spent to do a paper to suggest and propose that he set up RISDA. I even gave the name RISDA.
Right.
And then he appointed me the first board member of RISDA. So that was I and Tun Razak. And of course, he appointed me senator in 74. In 75, I already was a Supreme Council member. I was nominated. I didn't go campaign. Got no time. I got thousands of students who teach. Mana the time? 3 classes and tutorials. No campaigning. You nominate me, very good. Thank you very much. And now she's contesting. You want to vote? Tak nak, tak apa. No skin on my back. I won. Second highest vote. Imagine. Why? Maybe they thought at that time, not few young people, few women, kan? So they want to give a chance. These are people who thought that the country was worth more than who individuals, kan? They can contribute again. So when Tun Hussein, after taking over Tun Razak for his first cabinet, as you know, called me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon while I was on my sabbatical leave to write up my PhD thesis, which I never finished, of course. Called me at 4 o'clock and said, Rafidah, as you know, I'm doing my cabinet. Yes, Dato', I want to bring you in government. Bring me into government. Wow, he already made plans for me. You know, wow. And, okay, Dato', can I have some time to think and I tell you next week? No. You tell me 8 o'clock tonight. You call me in my house. Oh, tonight? Yes, 8 o'clock tonight, you tell me. Call my husband. My husband said, call Uncle Aziz, and ask me, what did Hussein say? Dato' Hussein said this. Okay, he's a man of his word. Take the job. So, Uncle, what do? Well, send in your resignation now. What choice do I have? This is public service. It's a parliament aja. But the thing is that such a pleasure, such a gratitude that people see you as being able to contribute your little way. I accepted it. Next year, I was made Deputy Minister of Finance, which you didn't mention. 4 years, I was Deputy Minister of Finance. Then 7 years, Minister for Public Enterprises. And I found that the government was wasting money on 900 over companies. And I went with a dossier to Tun Hussein at that time, said, Dato', this may be politically not correct. It may have some repercussions on me and maybe on you as a Prime Minister. But I'm closing down the bulk of these government companies. They're wasting money. Wow! So I said, Dato', these are the Rafida, if it's good for the country, you do it. He didn't even bother to read. He knows when I give something, it's not willy-nilly, washy-washy, you know. If it's good for the country, you do it. I will support you. Wow! That's it. Before I left, the ministry was closed. Betul tak, Sadia? You don't need a Ministry of Public Enterprise. Enterprise belongs to private sector.
Yes.
Government facilitate private sector. So it became entrepreneur development.
Right.
Now I don't know what it is now. Tak ada dah. Finish, finito. No more. I'm credited for closing down the ministry. You know, maknanya killing my own career lah.
Yes.
Tak apa. What's more important, my career or ni? But of course, at that time, you know, when you close it down, there were SCDCs to look after, so we went on. Move forward.
Right.
Move forward. Take away all the rubbish and move forward so that they can concentrate on major things. That's how. And then after that, Mahathir came in. I was still in public enterprise until he offered me the job meeting.
Yes.
That's it. Must be great lah.
Yes.
That's how I felt.
Yes. There's
To
an
be
honor
able-
already made.
Yeah, it's an honor, beyond honor. You're young. I was only 33.
Right.
It's such an honor to serve.
Yes.
And that no guts. It's here. I was blessed to be able to serve. That's all I can. I sacrificed my PhD, but thank you lah, University Melaya. You're giving me honorary doctorate.
Yes, yes.
Finally,
I'm very sorry.
finally. I kept telling people, UM you got already. No, they forgot about me. Ada universiti dah bagi dah, Utara, Selatan semua dah bagi.
Right.
Except Universiti Melaya, my alma mater. Suddenly you all remember. Thank you lah. I think because my Facebook ni. Suddenly when my Facebook became alive, they all remember, oh, she's still alive. That was my point about family nurturing and upbringing. You don't need teachers and lecturers to tell you on the etiquette of outsourcing or latching on to what is good or bad. It should start in the family. Because families today, which have children born literally with handphones in their hands, right? As long as they can sit up on the chair, dah pandai dah tekan. I know, because my grandchildren, 9, 10-year-old already doing programming, you know, I don't know what they program. Pandai dah. Well, because the father is IT savvy. Who else? But the nurturing, not education. Please don't use the word education. Here is the nurturing. The nurturing from young, you can block, isn't it?
Yes.
Do not allow your child access into every purchase. Or allow them to access and sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning talking to some pedophile at the end of the world. Because that child doesn't know he's a pedophile. Thinks it's a nice, handsome 14-year-old boy. Actually, it's a 50-year-old predator. No, you nurture. Don't wait for the schools to teach. Oh, for God's sake. It's nurturing, please, not education. At home. Okay? Ni kan bapak pun tengok. Macam mana? First of all, don't get into a position where you will be disappointed. This is what I meant about being nurtured to rationalize, to analyze. Once you're able to rationalize, very, very seldom and rare you'll be disappointed. For example, if you set your expectations that high, when you know, you rationalize, you say not possible. So you lower your expectation, you won't be disappointed, correct? As for not doing the PhD, that's not a disappointment. My goodness, being offered a job to serve in the country. Wow, it's worth 10 PhDs. Your
Yes.
Prime Minister is worse than Saddam Hussein. And went on and on and on along those lines, using the word pariah for Malaysia. Oh, how many times? I was patient. I listened. Have you finished, sir? Yeah. Please sit down. And then I lashed out. You have never even been to my country, so don't talk about it. Secondly, I explained for 1 hour what we were doing. You can't get it into your head. You think that just because we are doing something non-conventional that we are wrong, we'll prove you wrong. And went on and on and on. So don't ever call my country a pariah country. Pariah lah. But they must say pariah. You know, they cannot say pariah. Pariah country. And I went on that note, you know. And the organizers apologized to me because they were shocked to see this man condemning suddenly. You know, like health care, education is one thing that should have access to all. right? That is why I said, when you look at the structure of education, the government must try to minimize the disparities that exist among schools in this country. I gave you an idea of rural schools, urban schools. Rural school, it does not matter, sekolah kebangsaan ke, sekolah Tamil ke, sekolah Cina. They are all equally of lower, not say standard, but in terms of infrastructure. So you know that there is a disparity. This has to be acknowledged. Then you can have better access. I know, the Gandhi Memorial. You can ask MIC there. I have to raise money to make sure that school has infrastructure, to make sure the students who go there and the teachers who teach there, including Malay teachers. Access to education, it should be to everybody. That's why those days, because the Malays couldn't come to secondary schools, we had the asrama concept. That's why. To take them out of the villages, go to nearest town, and then have the asrama there, residential. That's what the idea, not to give them special treatment. These poor guys have to walk miles to go to school. Give them that possibility of going to school. Otherwise, they never go to school. Treat them as students. Forget that they're your children. If they misbehave, you also teach them how to behave. They should be told that, look, just because I'm your teacher, don't take advantage. Don't be mengada-ngada. Just because mommy teaching, you want to be extra naughty. Teach them at home first. You know, being children. So, nurture them at home first. You might end up one day in my class, but I teach you differently because a student is a student.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think I'm sure all of you agree that we had a very interesting and very lively discussion this morning with Tan Sri Rafida Aziz. And if there's anything, perhaps Tan Sri, what would be your main take-home message from this morning's talk?
First of all, you all have your own circles of influence. Yeah, from this family right up to wherever you are. Make sure you assume leadership. I don't say play a role. The words I never use is play a role. Too many role players in this world already. They're all becoming, mini actresses and actors. All not assuming roles with responsibility, playing roles. So assume your roles in your circles of influence well, so that you are able to either be examples, good examples to others around you, or you assume the leadership role that can motivate people to become better. And of course, we talk about education, it should include a good component of nurturing.
Yes.
To my mind now, nation building is not so much about education per se, academics, but nurturing. Because I've said it's good to have all the infrastructure, the physical, but if the people are not geared to nation building, no point. No point. You may get all the 12 A's, but you're antisocial. What's the point? You may get first class degree in whatever, and you are really anti everything. What's the point?
Yes. All right.
Right? Thank you.
So thank you very much, Tan Sri Rafida Aziz, for a most lively discussion and public.